Yeah, you can find it either way. It's like this is really for me. Who's watching, right? It's all good. It don't matter. But let me see. I'm interested for myself. So let's get started. Yo, what's up? Check it out. It's your boy DJ Elf7, and today I have a special guest. Now, this is someone who've actually been running after for quite some time. After she decimated my boy Big Talk Little Talk, he's gone now. Sad, but you could always come back. That's all right. Just having fun. Anyways, yeah. Red Sea Socialist has been part of a group that I've been hanging with called Yellow Brick Road, but now she's kind of just in the chats, I guess, right? We find Red Sea in the chat, right?
Yes, I am. I do stay in the chat.
That's cool. All right,
For
that's
the
cool.
most part.
All right,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, Red Sea, I'm actually a fan of yours. I find you very outspoken and not afraid to challenge, right? A lot of things that other people are fucking afraid to challenge, so that's fucking awesome. If you could maybe just, I'd like to introduce my audience to you. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself. And now my channel is mostly devoted to activism, so what's your background, I guess, maybe as an activist?
I guess I wouldn't really. I don't know if I'd call myself that. Just more of like an observer of of just phenomenons. I
Oh,
guess,
really? Okay,
and I have
so
opinions about them. I don't like. I guess what do you mean by activist?
well, I
Um,
recently donated to
mhm.
something. I think you were raising something for this Africom awareness thing, and I will have questions on that
Yeah.
later on
Okay.
today.
Yes.
I do
Yes.
find some of those things interesting, but is that like? And it seems like you're kind of like you're more than just surface level about these issues. It's something that you care about and you've been looking into. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
So I mean,
You are correct on that.
that sounds kind of
Well,
like an activist to me.
I guess I never really classified myself as that. Maybe I was confusing it with like organizer or something. But
Well,
yeah, I guess sure.
there's a lot of different angles, but you are right. Okay,
Yeah.
so anyways, I did come to the AFCOM thing, but okay, so how long have you been kind of like I guess trying to affect things around you towards align towards the maybe ethics or different just
Well, as
values
far
you
as
have.
I guess you're talking about the HOA Palace. You're talking about the organization, the Horn of Africa organization, right? With the shutdown Africom and all that.
It doesn't have to be. Some
Is that
people,
yeah?
you maybe you've worked with other organizations. Maybe
Yeah.
how.
No,
So how about
I
this?
know.
How did it get started? Have you always been like just kind of like aware politically, or did you like was there something that like kind of like turned you on to that?
Yeah, I have always been kind of curious politically, just because of I guess how I grew up. As far as just like like go like being born somewhere else, having to leave because of that government, and
Where did you
having to
grow up?
kind of like shuffle around. I was born in Eritrea. I was there until about I was like 7 or 8. Yeah,
Okay.
and
A lot of the
and
viewers, a
the
lot of the
war.
viewers probably
Yeah,
don't know what Eritrea is.
okay.
There's a lot of
It's a
so
small
what?
country. Yes,
Okay, so
it's a small country in East Africa, like right
okay,
on the Red Sea.
okay, so hence the name Red Sea Socialist, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
you
Um,
you can call me Sebs as well.
Sebs. Okay, that's cool. Now I
Hmm.
think that uh, is that independent from Ethiopia? Or is that part of Ethiopia?
No, it was never. It was actually technically never really a part of Ethiopia. It was.
Okay.
It's yeah. It's always been because well, Ethiopia as a whole, anyway. It kind of just came together as like a because they kind of did like a bunch of land grabs, right? Because it was an empire called the Abyssinian Empire until about 1891, and that's when they started doing like the King Menelik II started doing a bunch of land grabs and like moving south.
Okay.
Had a lot of support from French and English, and then the Italians were more up north with another king named Johannes, and he was the one that I guess was in charge of like keeping track of like the northern part, which part of that became Eritrea, right?
Okay.
So it was never because that whole area is just made up of a bunch of different ethnicities and different tribes and just like people with different histories and what have you, but all human beings, right?
Okay.
But the country of Ethiopia itself didn't really come together until like the early I guess early 1900s, like very late 1800s around that time. Um, so I wouldn't even necessarily. They did annex Eritrea after because the Italians then went into what is now Eritrea and tried to essentially colonization. what have you. But then after they left, the English kind of took over, and then they kind of uh, Ethiopia kind of annexed Eritrea.
So what's the
So this
level
didn't
of
happen till like later, yeah. So
so
it was
Eritrea?
never a part of Ethiopia. We were never. People say that, but it was never a part of Ethiopia. Never will
Okay.
be. So yeah.
So there's different, levels of, sovereignty that are recognized.
Mhm.
Is Eritrea recognized by the U.S. government at this time or not yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
good, good to know. Okay.
it's got an independence in 1991. There was a
Yeah.
30-year war that they fought. Both my parents were actually fought in that war. So people
Interesting.
lost lives and things. So it's kind of it's. I mean, I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's so offensive when they say that, but it's kind of like it's a little rude when people even say, it's like,
No.
well, clearly people, lost um, blood over this. Not that that's why, like,
Yeah. It
so you
is.
have to respect it, but it's more of just like,
That's the
if you're
reality
gonna
of.
try to understand, yeah, exactly. Like either try to
Yeah.
understand it from a realistic place, don't. Um, I wouldn't listen because there's a lot of elements of Ethiopia that even say that would never recognize Eritrea as its own country
I really don't
till this
know. Yeah.
day.
It's
So
so.
yeah.
It's such a foreign place
Mhm.
to me. I know so little about it. The fact of the matter is that I generally disregard information coming from other
Mhm.
areas of the world because just being of a Korean American background, I look at how much I feel like just the mainstream misses and gets incorrect about my own experiences in country, and I just say I just don't really have I just don't believe anything that's coming about me in other countries because I look at how long they get this stuff about me. So I just say like
Really.
they probably got it all messed up, and I just so when we talk about the past and so especially things from the past, but I am actually very interested to learn about the perspective and with regards to like other things going on like Afghanistan, even Korea, right? But let's go back to your story because I am, some of it actually is like how do we relate to, right? So the thing is that you said that you had to leave Eritrea at an early age. No, at when did you leave? As a
I think
teenager,
I
as
was
a
7.
child?
I was
Okay.
7. It was a kid. I
So
was
you were already
7.
speaking at that time, so you do have memories
Oh yeah,
from that time.
I remember
Okay.
everything.
And
I
okay.
remember everything. Yeah.
And your parents were fighting. They hopefully made it out. Okay.
Oh, this is the war in 1990 that ended in 1991. So everything was peaceful after that because that was the war with Ethiopia, the Ethiopian regime that was
Okay.
called the Derg, which is basically they called themselves like a Marxist Leninist socialist regime, but it wasn't really like that. It was very repressive and um, I don't even like ruthless, ruthless regime,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason why they didn't want to be oppressed by that anymore. Because before they came on, it was Haile Selassie, which I'm sure you've heard of,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
Because
Yeah. Oh
he's
yeah.
like King Haile Selassie. Like I think
I know your opinions
for
on that,
some
but go
reason,
ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, well,
Let
because
him
for
know.
some reason, like there's this whole um, myth that Haile Selassie was some like great African king, and like there's this Jamaican culture around it, which is frankly quite irritating because he was not a very nice person and hurt a lot of people, um, and was very like the animosity was there toward Eritrea in general, toward Muslims. So not a very nice guy, but I think people just don't. They're fed information in a certain way. I mean, you can relate to this. They're fed information in a certain way, and they like idealize these people or like these empires, and just because it's not just because it's a black empire doesn't mean that it was good.
Yeah.
Like because oppressing is just oppressing. It doesn't matter if it's done by white, black, Arab, Chinese. It doesn't matter.
Well, we need to
So
do more investigation on what's going on with that,
yeah,
right? So
but yeah,
yeah.
so before the Derg like kind of overthrew him, or not overthrew him, but they took over. Like they got rid of the monarchy technically, but just for another, you traded one master for another, and then so the Derg was was just as awful. It was ran by this gentleman named Mengistu Haile Mariam.
Okay.
And so then that got overthrown. Eritrea got their independence by 1991. The war was over. Everything was okay. But then there was turmoil again, come like 98. So hence why
Okay.
we had to leave.
So
My parents were involved. Well, my dad's side was involved in the government, so that's why we had to leave. Um,
okay, were
yeah.
they like maybe officials in the
Mhm.
government, like maybe a minister or?
My dad. Yeah, my dad was.
What type of, was he in agriculture? Was he in like finance? What was he doing?
It was like an education and
Okay.
few other things. He he because he so the thing is with my dad, he had been educated elsewhere. He had come back to Eritrea to fight. So he had like a lot of I guess I mean not that it matters, but he knows the situation on a personal level. Not that that like means that the way that he sees it is exactly the way that it's right. And I have my own opinions about it as well, you know, because sometimes when you're too close to something,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I get
Like you
that too,
tend
but
to yeah,
primary
but like
sources
you I
are the
try to
ones that I really pay attention to the most versus like
me
some
too, me too.
pundits.
But
So the
there's
fact
still
that
gonna
you're
be
so close
biases,
to it,
right?
I see
Yeah.
that as well too. Yeah, but really,
But
the
I don't want
people
to
that are
be
close to it are the
biased
ones who I want to
either.
hear the most from. And
Yeah.
I know you don't want to be biased, but we try to stay as neutral as possible. But there are those elements that
Absolutely.
occur.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
But good to know. Yeah, good to know.
So
So
that's why we had to leave because it started getting really repressed. Like he kind of he consolidated power all at the
okay,
same time. The president of Eritrea. He's been the president since they put him in office in '94 officially.
okay,
So he started consolidating power, getting really people started disappearing, and couldn't really speak out against it or against him.
okay.
There was a lot of monitoring and stuff. So luckily we had connections, so we were able to leave for Europe. So
One of the reasons why I was always interested in, debating from the beginning was because your name was Red Sea Socialist in the beginning.
mhm.
And the thing is that I've actually tried socialism a bunch of times. Haven't really been able to get it to work, but we did have some back and forth, and I think that your socialism idea was maybe not as what I originally thought, right? Maybe there's like some socialist programs could work or something like that. So, and it's also interesting because you said that you were actually fleeing from a Marxist-Leninist self-proclaimed ideology. So, what really brought you towards socialism, or are you still socialist? And what was that? What's Red Sea Socialist all about?
For me, like the way that I view it is more just as a like just like I guess a government or whatever of the people, where it's not a like I wouldn't call it like dictating anything on anyone else's life, but more just like um, I guess laws, not even laws, just like operating from like an ethical standpoint that like does take into account like 100% your individuality and like who you are because like it would have to start there, but also like but not just that, like also taking care of the people that are around you and making community and um, like because if
Yeah,
you are not looking around, then you're just going to be doing you. That's
you know,
great, that's fine, do that, but it's like
I feel
um
like I have like a very shared idea of socialism. So that was actually because a lot of people they'll come from, like you said earlier, Marxist-Leninist and like quote this
I'm
word or
not
that word
dogmatic. Yeah,
and
I'm
get
not.
all
I'm not. It's not a
yeah hyped
religion.
up. Yeah,
It's
I
a
agree with
tool.
that. I
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
yeah,
Like
at first, yeah,
there's good aspects of socialism. There's good aspects of capitalism. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't have a problem with private ownership. I also don't really care about not owning everything. Like I don't. I'm not. I don't think that because people will be like, oh well, that just won't work. Like people just need to have their own stuff. It's like no, but maybe some people really just don't mind sharing. You
yeah.
know what I
So
mean? Like, but that's a choice.
after
So
discussions like this, I saw I couldn't chop up. I saw that I couldn't lead Red Sea into a dogmatic trap, and I saw she had a very similar view to my point, which was cool. You know what I mean? I appreciate that view of socialism, but
also
at
I
first
don't.
I saw the
But
word
I also
socialism,
don't
I was
want
like,
to.
oh
Yeah.
really? Yeah, I was like, okay,
Well, I
that's
also
cool.
just don't like. I don't think it's. I try not to demonize the people that might be like dogmatic about it either, because I get it. Maybe
I'm not
that's
against
just how they
socialism
are.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is
yeah.
that
But I don't
I
have
don't
anything
think
against
it's
capitalism either. It's more. It's like
exactly,
I have a
yeah,
problem with neoliberal like policies
yeah,
specifically, or neoliberal economics, which is like they stress austerity. Like
yeah,
like to me that's what I have a problem. Like that's what you should point to when you're like as far as like criticizing the economy. Like it's not technically because capitalism can work a certain way, socialism can work another way, might work for
exactly.
people, but like neoliberalism, to be honest, that like was specifically designed to only work for the upper echelon. So
Okay.
that's just where I come from with
So
with that.
after you left Eritrea, where did you end up? Did you come directly to the U.S. or
No,
were you somewhere else?
no,
Where else did
yeah,
you?
we moved to Switzerland for a
Okay,
little while.
okay.
Yeah, we have family. We have a lot of family that lives there as well.
Well, that's
Switzerland.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Where else have you tried besides Switzerland and U.S. and
Then
Eritrea?
we moved to San Francisco for a while after that, and then we moved to the East Coast. So
So that's amazing. That's actually quite a bit of experience.
Well, and
And
then we also
yeah.
traveled around. Like we lived in Nigeria for a while because of my dad's job, and
So
so
you've gotten
we.
to see, right, governments
Mhm.
in different areas and gotten to experience them. Um, so some of them I guess could be more socialist or a capitalist or something like that, right? Which one did you feel kind of like maybe was the most ideal one, or I mean maybe it's hard to tell from just your
They
experience,
were
but which one did you feel like the most worked the best for you?
all terrible. To be quite honest. I
Well,
mean, for me
damn, all
personally,
right.
obviously, like being here has been, it's obviously better than having to be in Eritrea where things would have happened, wouldn't have gone very well for my family and I.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have an uncle who is the political, well, there's different stories about that, but he got arrested about 7.5, 7 years ago
Yeah.
now. And
Arresting, dead.
yeah,
Yeah, this it's just
like
it's a bloody
arbitrary,
game.
like just randomly. So don't really hear from him. Don't really know where he is. Don't really know, which prison. No kind of due process, whatever. I'm not saying that happens to everybody, but that does happen, and that is a reality. So it kind of frustrates me when I hear people talking about ISAF, but they don't mention those things because it's like, but you support political prisoners, right? Because people march for Assange, but then when it comes to other political prisoners, because it doesn't fit their narrative, so they don't talk about that, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, they
So.
just have no time for anything else. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Some people are
Mhm.
mono like that, and we need a range though. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
they can be like that, right? And I appreciate dedication, focus, but it's not about one person. We have to also provide backing for everybody that needs support. You know what I mean? We can't just have
Yeah,
one savior figure. You know what I mean? In
yeah.
this movement, that's ridiculous. Yeah, we
Well, I
gotta
was I was
stand
more just
together.
like referring to the people that will say that they support political prisoners, and I see them talking about Assange or Lumia, but
No,
then
you're
they'll like
right.
start
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
Eritrea, and then they don't talk about like the political prisoner situation there, which is
Absolutely.
important,
You absolutely.
and
It
not
is
from a State
important. Yeah.
Department perspective.
No, I
Yeah,
get that. I'm
yeah,
completely and yeah, their suffering is not worth any less than these celebrities. So you're right, and someone needs to look out for them. So I appreciate that, and thank you for doing that. Yeah, not yeah. Without you, then who do they really have? That's a fact. So appreciate that. So the governments you tried in different countries, they're all kind of missing. The U.S. has a little better and
they're all
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
terrible.
you could survive. Yeah, you can survive here because you're not like they're not breathing down your neck. But appreciate that. So out of the different observations that you had of the situation in different countries, have you seen any type of like the things that you believe in, right? Maybe you've been trying to work towards those things, and then you work on the AFCOM thing. We're about to talk about some of those things, but what are some of the different actions that you've seen, like activists or people who are trying to make a difference do that you felt like were more effective? Anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say probably like trying to get everybody's perspective, like trying to understand where everybody's coming from, rather
Okay.
than just kind of like sticking to what they know they or what they learned first and what made sense to them, and like not really allowing any new information to like help evolve or like give them a better understanding of things. Kind of just like
Okay.
blocking things off, like nope, that's inconvenient to my to the thing that I'm fighting for, so that doesn't work.
All
And I
right.
think that the people who don't do that are probably the most effective, the most honest um, type of activists, if that makes sense.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Well, let's see if we
Yeah.
can make that happen. Yeah. We'll see. Anyways, I actually had quite a few questions about the Africom thing that you're working on.
Yeah.
So we could get into that because I know you're working on that particular.
Sure.
So that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to take credit for that. That's a lot of
Oh, a lot
what
of
they've
people
been
working
doing
on it.
already.
Yeah.
But
But you
yeah, but
brought it
yeah,
to my
exactly. So
attention. So
that's
for
not.
me,
But
right? Yeah.
yes,
That you represent
yeah.
that for me.
Hmm.
Appreciate that.
But
So
I do definitely represent. I would say represent, and I support as far as like getting rid of the AFRICOM.
okay. Well, let's talk about AFCOM for a second because I bet you there's a lot of people who don't know what AFCOM is. Honestly, I
Mhm.
looked it up myself. I had to learn more about it. What is AFRICOM? What is your understanding of AFRICOM?
AFRICOM, yeah, it's just basically like made up of like it's the African Command Center of the United States,
Right.
but or by extension NATO, but that's in Africa. So there's like a bunch of different bases. I don't know how many. I think maybe like at least what, like 50, maybe more in Africa alone. Um, and they pretty much they coordinate with different I call them mercenaries, but they call them proxy armies that like to train in countries that are friendly with the United States or with the NATO aligned countries. So they train them. They take special. They have special operations, whether it be like Army Delta Force or like Navy team, the Navy SEALs or the Green Berets, stuff like that.
So it's
So
pretty
they'll
much
bring them.
open
Yeah,
government and
yeah,
military
so yeah, like
interference. Yeah.
exactly. So they'll take the special forces and they'll train their troops because
Okay.
they don't want to bring the American boots on the ground, right? And
Yeah.
then they'll have them fight the Al Shabaab or whatever I just whatever
Yeah.
the Boko Haram, whatever it is, in Africa, in different
So
countries in Africa.
so when I
So
heard about this particular bent of things, right, about your activism in this area, and which is one of the reasons why I'm a fan of yours, because you're absolutely fucking ruthless, yeah, in a good way. Yeah, you have no fear of taking on or locking horns with the big dogs. So the thing is that right now AFRICOM is actually a U.S. program, military and intelligence program, right, running in another country. You could run
and
like
another
maybe
continent, whole
yeah,
continent, yeah.
yeah. You could run humanitarian aid to Eritrea, things like that, right? But you decide to actually take on, right? That's a fight that not really many people are ready to take on that fight. What made you willing to take on an open U.S. government program like that versus, a lot of the other softer things that most people get involved with?
Well, I mean, number one, I guess because I'm from Africa, so it's like automatically that's like always on my radar. I mean, and number
Okay.
two, it's like you hear people say, stop the war in Iraq, right? You say take the troops out of Syria or take the troops out of Afghanistan and all that, but you don't hear anyone have anything to say about the troops that are in different countries in Africa. Like
Yeah.
that's what that is. It's an occupation. Like
It,
let's be, so it's like why do you not have a problem saying that about Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya or Syria or Yemen or what have you,
because I swear to
but
you,
you
I
don't
feel like
mention,
it's
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
African suffering
Yeah.
is worth less
Hmm.
because they're Africans,
I don't know
right?
if that's perhaps that's one explanation for it if that's how somebody views it. I'm not really sure. I don't really see it that way. I think it's more just it's not really in the news. It's not really covered,
How do you
as much.
feel is how do you feel now the thing is that right the relation between black Americans and
Hmm.
Africans isn't always the best. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, right? Yeah.
With
How
anybody though,
yeah,
I would say.
how like do you feel like maybe, honestly the black political movement is very strong. Do you is are you able to maybe like turn some of that support for for fighting AFRICOM?
For sure. I mean, I
Okay.
I know a lot of people that are black who are not like directly from there and who support this kind of stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
Absolutely. The people who understand what it is, they understand it as like, oh, like this is a military occupation.
Okay.
That's what that is. Like that's why there are they drone so many. Like how many times did Trump drone Somalia? You didn't
Yeah.
really hear that much of an outrage coming from anywhere, to be frank, because they're like, oh, well, they're fighting Al Shabaab as if it's like the people in Somalia are just too fucking incompetent to handle their own shit. Like no, they're not. They're human beings. They can handle. Don't infantilize. Don't patronize. Don't be fucking condescending. Excuse my language. But
Okay.
um, it's just it's just interesting because like even when people mention the wars that are still going on, like they don't really mention Somalia. Um, so it's just it's I think it's just the lack of coverage, but I don't think it's like a Black African versus American African or African American type of thing. I don't view it in that lens, just because
Okay.
I think it's silly to because then you're going to be kind of falling into that like um, I don't want to call it like identity politics, but it's just kind of unless like they brought that up to me and they want to have a conversation about that. To me, it's like it's not really that important. I don't really care
Okay. Yeah,
where
just
you're
wondering
from.
how that affects like your numbers and support and things like that. But
No,
yeah.
no,
No. Yeah, what you said makes sense. Yeah, like there would be.
yeah.
Yeah, you would attract actually people from, the another and the AFRICOM thing. Did you say earlier that's mostly for North Africa, or do you say it's for all of Africa?
It's for all of Africa,
Okay.
like sub-Saharan. I mean, even just recently, just this past March, the U.S. sent Green Berets into Mozambique, um, which was like very underreported, and they're going to be training the Mozambique, I guess, forces over there to fight. apparently ISIS went to Mozambique.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what they claim.
Your
That ISIS
testimony
is
is
now in
actually,
the Congo and Mozambique. So,
your testimony is so valuable to me because the thing is that, right? I could meet someone I could like maybe watch a news report, right, and try to digest something in 15 minutes, whatever, from someone who probably knows nothing. But the thing is that also they're being told to say things against stuff from the AP News. Like they have no reason. I have no reason to really trust what they say. But you've been watching what's going on and paying attention like over years, like as I have, right? So I've heard like people from like when I was like 8 or 9, like, and then they talk about North Korea, and I'd pay attention, and like 20 years later I could see if there's consistencies or inconsistencies. So, you're just the long amount of time that you've been watching the situation, makes you very valuable and much more reliable to from my commitment on this particular issue versus if I just heard about it from someone random, I would have very little reason to trust that information. You get what I mean?
I know what you're saying. Because you don't know if they're like trying to do propaganda for someone else or actually speaking
or
like
maybe
their
they just
truth.
don't know, or maybe they're just
Or,
repeating
or maybe they
talking
just don't
points from
know.
the
Yeah.
mainstream media. I mean,
Yes.
maybe they just got it wrong. You know what I mean?
Or maybe they're just repeating what they heard on alternative media without really thinking about, like
Exactly, all kinds
that's
of
also
things,
another,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So someone who's just been, right, you said at an early age, right? You said
Hmm.
around 8 or 9. I had actually was similar for me too, right? When I saw the Korean Olympics going on and they said Yankee go home, I thought the U.S. was the good guys. So I said, what's going on here? And I also had an awakening at an early age that really made me question many things around me. But I think your questioning was a little bit more, extreme, right? Being forced to move out of the country, your parents are under threat of violence. Yeah, I mean that's quite a wild story. That's cool though. You know what I mean? It's nice to meet you. Yeah, there's normal people who go through wild, crazy things, and
Everyone has their stories, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to let it define you, but at the same, but you can still acknowledge it, right? It's like what happened to you is not who you are, and that's not like all you'll ever be. Like I don't want anyone to ever, I don't, I don't want to think that, and I don't want anyone to ever even feel like that, no matter what
Everything
happens
has
to you.
its use. Everything has
Yeah,
its
everything
use.
has
Yeah.
its use. Everything happens for a reason. And not in a religious way, like God wills it, but in more of like like it happened, so like move on. Not like move on, but it's like it already happened.
Yeah.
You can't make it go away. So it's like just make the best out of like right now.
That's what I
And
do.
moving
That's
forward.
exactly what I
Yeah,
do. That sounds good
yeah.
to me. Yeah. So, from your analysis and watching, right, the region, I know Africa's a huge ass, right, continent. Maybe you have maybe more of a localized understanding, right, more towards Eritrea, things like that going on over there. But what do you think the U.S. is really is trying to accomplish in that region of Africa? Well, why do you
Well,
think they're investing in there? What are they trying to do?
um, I would say probably control of resources, of course, like the usual.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I would say that's probably why.
So you heard
For the
about
most
the
part,
now when
I'm not putting everything on the U.S. Like it's not just
about
okay.
talk about
There's
China.
corruption from
I'll
within
talk
as
about
well.
China.
So
Yeah. So the
yeah.
thing is
Oh
that
yeah,
like
absolutely.
I was in
Okay.
Grenada and they built a freaking state they built a stadium for the Grenadians over there. They also
Hmm.
did like other things and honestly it's it's not all good, right? They're trying to control the
Hmm.
ports. They all actually call it a new form of colonialism, like
Hmm.
economic colonialism, right?
Hmm.
And if you look at the like, I got love for Chinese people, but let's be real, Chinese people, it's true, right? Yeah, y'all will wipe the fuck out of right a region. You know what I mean? Y'all will go in and eat all the fucking plants, and just fucking wipe it out and move on. You know what I mean? And you guys know you do that. So I mean, you can't do it to Africa. Come on,
Every
man.
single country, every single place has their own
Yeah,
they have their own element of corruption, and
yeah,
so it's
but
like
yeah.
yeah.
So it seems
So
like
it's
the
not, yeah.
U.S. and China might be competing in Africa. Is that true? How true is it? Like, what's
Oh,
I
absolutely.
trust your word more. Yeah. Who do you think's winning
Yeah,
that? Is someone winning?
yeah.
Maybe.
China
Yeah.
easily. Yeah.
Easily. Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's. I'll tell you honestly that on Grenada it's similar to that, but right, they're the ones who built the stadium. They've done all these things, but the U.S. because they had the med school on the island, they got like a lot of rich. Actually, the Grenada had supposedly one of the first successful nonviolent socialist revolutions that was quickly overturned by the U.S. government. Uh, yeah, because of the rich kids whose parents were, you know, funding their medical school experience on the island. So yeah, by Reagan himself, that was pretty wild. So um,
Sounds on brand for him.
yeah, it is. Yeah. So
Him and like yeah.
yeah, so the U.S. They trying to gain the resources right there. It's now the thing is that
Absolutely,
in
and the control of the
Afghanistan,
ports and like there's a lot of there is a shit ton of like just in Congo alone. In the Congo alone, there's just enough to like just literally provide for every single person in the world.
yeah,
Um, it's just so fertile. It's so fertile, like that Congo Basin, like that area, like by Lake Chad, and just it is extremely fertile. Like there is that's why it's so crazy, specifically when you even think about the Congo and like where like how they're how it's going over there just for the normal people, for the regular people, not the the entrepreneurs, quote unquote.
it has a
um,
lot of potential.
right.
That's true.
It does. I mean, it just there's enough there to take care of everyone, not just in Congo or the continent of Africa, but literally all over the world. So it's like just so confusing why like you have like literal $1 trillion worth, if you want to do it monetarily, worth of like resources, but people are living on less than like $1 a month. You know,
Okay.
so it's it's like it's like what's off here? What's going on? Because then you're going to make an argument for like, oh well, they just don't know how to take care of their government, or they just don't know what they're doing. It's like, okay, so are you just saying that they're just too stupid to do it? Like what's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because then it's like there's assumptions that you're going to be making, but it's like there's something larger at play,
Okay. So
specifically in that area.
I'll share with you something weird I said to the Power Anthem Network. Yeah. Which
Hmm.
at first will sound really off, but I am interested on your take on it. So the thing that I said was they asked me about like pulling the troops out. You know what I mean? And they said I remember they said we want to pull all the troops out. I said that's not necessarily the best idea, right? Because of what you saw happen in Afghanistan, right? Yeah. If the U.S. has been doing business there, they have certain relationships, and they just pull out, certain people are gonna get whacked out and mold out, and there will be also a lot of possible anger, right? Yeah, if you take a look at the Taliban, the U.S. fucked with them for a long time, called them terrorists, and blew up, like carpet bombed the country like crazy. You know what I mean? And now they got to give it back to them. I think that it's making the U.S. a lot less safe. I think there's a lot of anger left behind. How is it? I know in Korea there's definitely like they don't talk about it here, but I know in Korea there's a lot of unhappiness with the United States, and they left a lot of anger in their wake. What about what's your experience with that, and how do you feel about that, being a refugee from a country that
I honestly, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even like, to me that's like it feels like the narrative that they kind of are trying to pull or are trying to spread. Even, like
Okay.
in particular, even with Afghanistan, because I heard John Bolton, like I think he was on CNN or MSNBC, like talking about this, saying like, well, things are going to be chaotic. Like it's not going to work. Like like it doesn't make any sense, kind of thing. Where I feel like they have ulterior motives for doing that, and also it's kind of silly because if you look at the way that like these NATO countries operate, it's not like all the troops left, because the United Kingdom, like the British troops are there until 2024. Like
Yeah.
that's in their contract. So it's not like okay, like American troops left, but it's like how about all these other ones, and how about the private contractors or the
Well,
private
they still,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
a
So it's
lot of
like
it's private contractors too, right? Yeah, the troops
yeah,
is one thing, but yeah, they're just the military force
yeah.
is still
So
there. So
it's almost like it's just symbolic. It doesn't
yeah,
really actually it doesn't mean anything. And they've already been saying like they've been reporting on this, like, oh, the war on terror is moving to Africa, is moving to Mozambique and the Congo, is moving like they're connected to ISIS. Like so they've already kind of been spinning this for the last like year and a half from what I've seen. So it's not surprising to me that they're pulling these troops out and talking about like leaving Afghanistan and this and that. And also, they don't really need that many troops on the ground anymore because they have information. They have so many satellites in space that they send every day, every week. That like for their geospatial just surveilling. They don't
yeah,
really need as many boots on the ground when they have like the tracking and the
yeah.
intelligence that they do with with the technology. So to me, it's almost like, okay, they're doing this, but like, why? Oh, right, because we're moving to like a digital age where they're not going to really need these boots on the ground. They can surveil from the Pentagon. So
Yeah,
it's like,
that's quite an interesting take, and I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean,
Um,
if you look at their like all their reports and stuff, the way they talk about like the future of warfare is like, oh, we don't need that many troops on the ground. Like we just need deploy like troops to deploy like immediately if we need that. But we have like it's an information war, and as long as you have, you control all the different, uh, I guess like just the different technology and like the tracking and stuff. You don't really need people. To be
Okay.
honest,
So
you got your drones and.
you heard about
Mhm.
like remember how like the European Union had formed? Some people have talked about like maybe like a pan-African solution to try to
Mhm.
like really take on right like the world superpowers. Do you think that's a viable solution, or do you feel like that's kind of I know that's a
Yeah,
you
it's
know
no,
yeah
it's like it sounds good, right? Because it's
yeah
like, oh yeah, like we need our own. We need our own. We just need like an African union, and like we can fix the problems ourselves. But it's like there's corruption with Africans too.
yeah
It doesn't mean just because you're African doesn't mean that like you're like just not going to be corrupt in any way, and you're gonna like everything's going to be fine. I feel like there's other things that I mean, it could start with maybe like okay, just like let's just let people have their own agency. Like let's maybe leave these countries alone as far as like the NATO countries go. Um, However, it's like I don't think that just doing like just because the African Union itself that already exists is so like um, bought off already.
so
It
I
just
guess the most
it's so within the
yeah
agenda. It's like I don't know if that can work anymore. Like I don't I
so
don't have a problem with centralization as far as like if we lived in
I guess what
a
I'm looking for,
healthier
right? The thing
society.
is that even if we stop U.S. intervention, this policy,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, which I'm
Hmm.
not sure that I don't like the way they're going about intervention policy, but we also have to be players in the game, right? I'm not saying that we should be manipulating other people and stuff like that, but there's in gaming sometimes it happens a little bit, right?
Hmm.
But the thing is that when we
What
take
do
a
you
look,
mean by that though?
okay, so the well, okay, the thing is that when you take okay the big powers with their for example right one of the things is that military power right military power does give some help in terms of when working out like trade negotiations. That's why the U.S. is all around Korea. They got like they actually want Kim Jong Il there, right? They say they don't, but they want him there, and they use
Mm-hmm.
that destabilization to use like to have the force to reason to have to populate the area with a large amount of troops. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard for these countries to make to just all of a sudden when you have all the troops next door and you're going to tell them to you're going to shoot the trade deal one way, they can push it the other way. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're
So
saying.
the thing is that right, like military power, right, like or that's just one way, right, that they could try to combine together to maybe be respected better. Who knows, right? But you're right. Look at the European Union; they fell apart, right? But China, right, we can see is making a lot of moves on how can we get these people to maybe more self-sufficient so they can combat right this colonialism that's not happening just from the U.S. but from other countries as well. Because if the China successfully right colonizes Africa, that's still bad, and that still will cause a lot of suffering. And overall, we're going to have to end up taking care of it somehow, just as humanity. You
I know
get
what
what I mean? Okay.
I do. I mean, and to a degree, like for me with the whole China situation, like I think that it's wrong the way that they have been
Yeah. So how do we make the
immunizing
Africans
Chinese people.
self-sufficient? How do we give them the power where they can actually take on these people that are trying to victimize them?
That would have to happen on like a local individual, then like possibly a you can do it with the whole continent, but I feel like it would have to happen on like a local, even almost like tribal and individual level first. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it can't just be like, okay, like this is what we're gonna do, and then you just tell everyone what to do, because then like what's the difference um, from like how things are now?
Well, the
But
thing is that okay, a lot of socialism groups, right, maybe, right, are actually they have this song called the International, right? And then the thing is that sometimes, right, are you part of any of these maybe international groups that might do any of this work?
I'm not really a part of any of those groups.
Okay,
Of that part of any. I'm not
just the
really
fighting the CARICOM thing, which I guess
the
is
yeah the Africom. Yeah,
some
that
yeah.
I feel very passionately about, just because the situation in Somalia, like just since 2006, has been fucking terrible, and it has. I mean, because with Somalia specifically, it's not just the U.S. or Africa. Well, it is, but it's also they train the troops the Ethiopian troops, they train Kenyan troops, Ugandan troops, Rwandan troops to go and fight in Somalia. So
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, like it is a devastating situation. And of course, like the fighting always breaks out, like, or the terrorism always happens right where all the natural resources are, which is exactly what happened with Mozambique, where the fighting happened in Palma, or the insurgency from the ISIS happened in Palma, where where ExxonMobil and Total are drilling for natural gas. So it's like the same story every time, whether it
Yeah,
be like
it really
Iraq
is.
and the Green Zone.
It really is. It's these corporate
Yeah,
because
and
they
it's
don't.
like,
Yeah, they're so
yeah, and
unoriginal.
it's so unoriginal, and it's like
Yeah.
at this point, it's like they're probably doing something else, and I think it's good to like pay attention to this as well. But there is a whole other thing that's happening in Africa right now, specifically with the more the states that are kind of like, I don't want to call them vassal states, but they're like compliant states who are opening up their doors to Silicon Valley, uh, which has been happening in Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, um, just even Uganda. They have been. It's kind of like what China did in the early 2000s, where they were kind of just like open to all foreign investment in synthetic biology, nanotech, all that stuff. Where they were like, and then they would loosen the regulations, and they had cheaper labor.
Things
So
are
it's
yeah.
kind,
With all
yeah,
this
but it's
online work, actually, the majority of
yes,
CEOs, even in corporations now, are not even from the U.S. They're so interested in expanding to international markets. I think the
they
Coke
are.
CEOs from India and stuff like that, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
they
Oh,
really
oh,
focusing
India's a big
on,
one. Yes.
yeah, they really focused on getting that money. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, one of the things that I'm almost certain, right, in fact, we're all sure it's going to happen, is that the whole workforce, right, the computer programmers now are making less than people working, delivering pizzas. I swear to you, yeah, because they're competing with people from India. They are going to globalize the workforce and play us against each other, and we're going to
They
be,
want.
yeah, we're going to be played like noobs. It's
You're
horrible.
gonna be
Yeah,
fighting. Yeah, I mean, it's a gamified. It's a gamified
yeah, it's
just
ridiculous.
like complete global capture of like everybody. That's why it's really scary, and that's why Silicon Valley. I feel like they don't really. I mean, they get a lot of pushback and stuff, but not in the way that they should be, because I
So
don't think that people realize how big of like just as far even just. And it's not just Silicon Valley. Like, I mean, a lot of it is, but it's also like Hong Kong, Switzerland. Just there's a lot of different players. Um,
if I didn't know, like, I'm not saying that I know you like so well, but we've been interacting for a while, and unless
yeah,
I had someone like with your level of like experience, on this particular topic, because I seen you talking about it for a while, and also your personal background, like with your, I wouldn't really get involved with something like this, but I'm actually quite excited to get involved with to work more on a topic like this because I believe in helping my allies as much as I can. And the thing is that, right, what can we do? Now, the thing is that so before I had my interview with you today, I looked up Africom, and when I looked up on YouTube, the very first video to pop up was Abby Martin's video. I mean, I appreciate her work on it, but I would like to hear from more people and more on this particular topic because she's covered other issues like Israel and stuff like that. So how
I
much
will
does she
say
really know
Abby did a
about
great job.
Africom?
That was a good
Yeah,
video.
it seemed like a
I
good
watched
video.
that
Yeah,
with Eugene, right? It was
yeah,
like
but I want
yeah,
more. I
that was
want more
excellent.
information
Yeah.
from other sources that are and as right things are always changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know things as they develop. Do you have any other, maybe I know you're doing your own YouTube channel, which you're gonna be talking more about these issues, right? Am I correct?
No, I'm not. I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay, I suggest Rumble, by the way. They monetize me right now. Yeah, I didn't have to wait for
Oh yeah.
Rockfin. Screw Rockfin.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, I am
Hmm.
glad about that. You know what I mean? I don't think whatever I take,
So I
right?
did with
In principle, it's good.
I was wondering why did was it Peter Thiel was is an investor in Rumble? I thought that was
I
kind of
don't
weird.
know. I don't know. I really haven't.
Yeah. No, I just
Yeah.
thought that was kind of weird
Who is that?
because it was Peter Thiel's a Palantir guy.
That's
The
a publishing
surveillance.
company, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a surveillance because they work with ICE and stuff, like Homeland Security.
Well,
Um,
there's other things that
Palantir. I was just
actually
curious. Yeah, it's like
I'm finding out
because I
more.
saw Glenn Greenwald move to it, and so it's like you went from Peter Omidyar to like Peter Thiel
I'm
or
not.
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I'm I have mixed feelings about Glenn Greenwald. I have mixed feelings about everybody. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I remember actually, I was part of the Tulsi group because she's actually her base, and they've been fighting against like these wars for a while, which I appreciate, right? But what was actually weird was
She also thought that it was okay to go to Afghanistan after 9/11, which was a complete fraud. So it's like, and she still says that.
And she also promoted something called the Quincy Institute. But if you look at the Quincy Institute, it looks like honestly a whole bunch of like, agents. Like,
yeah.
Have
well, she worked for that George Soros one too.
I don't know if she worked there. She said she was participating.
Oh, she worked there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but once again,
I mean, I don't hate on her for it. Like, she could be a good person.
We'll see. I don't know yet. I really don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm still uncertain, but I do know that her base, right, should be anti-war, and I'm looking for allies there. So that's definitely, that's good.
Anti-war though, Ed, and they talk about Iraq and Afghanistan.
Should be, yeah.
Or like Syria and stuff, but they don't talk about. I'm sorry, but I don't hear them talk about. Like, also, can you please shut down Africom? That would be nice. Because they've been droning people in Somalia on a weekly basis, and yeah. So.
Right, the Abby Martin story was good.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. She's also covering other stories too. She might move on. We'll see how long she stays on it, right? But what are some other programs besides
she's
maybe?
She's been covering this stuff for quite some time. Actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
She was one of the only people that covered the situation in alternative media anywhere, where she was covering the situation with the refugees in Israel.
Honestly, not that I ever disliked her, but I stopped watching at one point because there was a dead time. Remember, she was in RT News, and that's when I watched her. And then she took a break to go on Empire Files, and then there was like a lull, and then I just ended up stopped watching. Not that I didn't want to, right? Yeah, but I just during that lull.
Well, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think she's. I genuinely don't think.
That's cool.
Well, maybe she is, but I don't think she's disingenuous.
No, I'm down to watch Abby Martin. I'm down to watch Abby Martin. Yeah,
I don't know
that's
her.
cool.
Yeah. But I also disagree with her on a lot of things. There's some not a lot, but like some of the domestic stuff. I'm like, Abby, come on.
Who are the other content producers that are covering this particular topic though?
Like on a regular, probably my friend Salman. I don't know if you know him.
How can people follow Salman?
He's on Twitter. He's been on Convo Couch.
Cool.
Fiorella had him on when I asked her.
Oh, great! And did you talk about Africom?
Yeah. No, they talked about the situation in Ethiopia.
Oh wow! Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wow! Congratulations. I gave up.
I
gave up. Hey,
hey,
congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations.
Not for me.
Well, I mean,
I didn't really do it for myself.
I mean, to get the issue that you care talked about. That's why you're doing all this work, right? Like that's.
Well, it was just the issues that were happening, and it was like,
that's
hey,
good.
if you want to cover this is also happening.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it. I wasn't really. It wasn't like this must be. It's more just like, oh hey, by the way, like this is happening. Do you want to talk to this person about it? They're a pretty good source.
I haven't.
She was just like, oh yeah, sure. She was like, yeah.
For me, that's a big comment. I haven't gotten there yet, so for me, that's big. You know what I mean? So. I'm still, but I'm happy to hear that. You know what I mean? I had stopped watching Convo Couch because I lost faith in them. But if that's good.
Him and I went on Franco's show together as well.
Oh, cool.
To talk about Eritrea as well.
Well, oh, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped watching that too. I mean, I got love for Franco, but I just kind of stopped. I figured I had to go in another direction, but I still got love for him. Well, okay, that's good. I will start on Twitter. Is there any maybe? Yeah, I would like to hear more about this. And this is now Africom, right? I know that they're doing their beauty business in Africa. You guys have slotted with other nations? Maybe is there like a Asian interference group or maybe something that would work with you guys to maybe help, as a coalition to fight U.S. imperialism?
For me, it's like it's not even just about Africom, Ed. I mean, it is because not just, but like it is about Africom, just because it's like to me it doesn't really get.
They're underreported. Yeah, so you just
and it's like people's lives. So it's like I'm not saying that like you need to report on this less and report on this more. It's just like hey, can you also include this?
You're just making it balanced. You're just asking for balance and fairness.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know that's what I'm all about. Yeah, I know you've been back. Thank you, Sebs. You're the best. Yeah, I'm a big fan of you. Yeah. So I would like to see more material from you, but I get you're doing other things and stuff. That's cool. But
is there something that you think that I'm missing with some of the stuff that I write about? You can always tell me. I don't really because I'm here to learn.
I've been busy, wrapped up in my own battles. Yeah, I need to. It's actually nice to take a break from my own little drama and learn about something else that is I'm actually quite it makes a lot of sense to me. I guess you could see the lineup, right, with the
I mean,
Korea,
it's just
right,
here, like
early
honestly,
age.
like I'm pretty sure the people in Germany probably want them like the U.S. Base out of there too. It's been there since after World War II. Like I'm pretty sure the people in Germany, like I have solidarity with them, like with
It
that.
might
Like
be
I
a
don't
little
just
bit
Germany. It's not
different
about
thing,
black.
right?
It's
Yeah.
not about white.
It
No,
might
I'm
be a
just saying,
different
just in
thing when
general. Yeah.
people, right?
Oh no,
Because
of course, yeah, because they're not bombing the people in Germany, so it's totally different. Yeah.
like the thing,
But
also
like,
another, yeah, like in the Korea, right? Like a U.S. military truck can
yeah.
run over a Korean, and the Koreans can't really like take
And
on the U.S.
Okinawa
Right?
too.
Yeah. But yeah, that too, yeah. But what, right? And they'll also be raping,
And
like,
I went
Korean
there,
women.
and I went
Yeah.
there with someone who like had a family there, to Okinawa, and like I mean, not that like what they said is the thing, but it's like people don't really seem happy with the
Yeah.
fact that there's
But
like military bases
yeah,
all over
but
that
what do you
tiny
think?
island,
But do
yeah.
you think that a U.S. soldier can run over a German, right, with no consequence?
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, it's not
right?
about
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like to me, it's not like, oh well, you're not doing this to them. Why aren't you doing that to me? It's more just like, well, why don't we just stop doing this?
Yeah, yeah, but
You know,
I
it's
think
like
that
I'm not gonna.
there is some
Yeah.
valid reason, right? Yeah, for there to be more of an outcry of removing
Some
troops
people's lives are worth more than others.
from
Yes.
from Africa
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
from Asia, right, than from Germany. But I am agreeing with removing from Germany too, and you did have that's a true point, right? Yeah, people in Germany, right? What the fuck are U.S. troops doing here? I get that too, right? But
Oh, they're
they're just
everybody.
not.
Global.
It's just not this. It's not the same between like the U.S. troops in Germany and U.S. troops in our countries. You get
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, but the feeling is still, if the feeling is still there, where
I
you're
get
like,
you. Yeah,
you want
that's
that
true.
out of there. Like
That's true.
I'm not going to be like, your feelings are not as bad as mine. It's more just like, okay, cool. Like I care about that too. I care about both.
Okay.
Cool.
So the socialist
Like,
thing, I noticed you dropped that from your moniker. Is that something that you're kind of backing away from?
That's always been that's still my YouTube name, Red Sea Socialist. That's my email.
Oh, it
In my
still
email
is.
address.
Okay. So you're really making
Anyone
that
wants to email,
commitment.
it's
Okay.
redsseasocialist@gmail.
Interesting. Okay, so I'll be following you. I think that I'm glad for all of our interactions. Yeah, I'm a big fan. All
It's
right.
always
So
been my that's just my email address / my YouTube name.
that's cool. I was always
Yeah.
wondering about the socialist thing. Yeah, some of the things I think makes sense. Some of the things I
Do you
think are
not like
problematic. But
socialism?
you seem
You
to
think
get
socialism
most of it.
evil?
I don't think it's evil, but I think that I think that you've been done a good job of taking that on, right? Yeah. The thing is that when if the government owns the only right game in town, right, then they don't have to be efficient. And the thing is that they become super corrupt from what I've seen, right?
That can happen in any system.
Yeah, but it gets worse when there's only one option, right? So I am for
not really, because we have capitalism right now, right, or whatever the fuck they want to call this shit. And like, I mean, is it any better? I'm just curious. Like, I don't really know. Is it worse?
When you have only one option, it does like certain
do
government
only have one option
programs, the
It's like it's an
glacial
illusion
pace
of choice, but it's not really choice.
and the amount of like waste, right? Yeah, and it doesn't get that it gets bad in the private sector, but it cannot get that bad without government. Because the thing is that I've been part of also like let's take a look at some public housing, right? Sometimes they'll have like community watches, and at first everything starts good, but then what happens is when people get comfortable, they become complacent. The security guard who used to come every day and the community was good for a while, he doesn't show up one day, nobody says anything, and he doesn't show up for a couple
To me,
days.
it's like the argument of like, is socialism worse than capitalism? Is capitalism better than socialism? It's kind of like it's I'm not gonna say it's useless, but it doesn't really. There's so many things that like you would have to deal with first before you could even have that argument that like it's irrelevant.
I think you see it. I think you see it too, right? I think the danger is saying that socialism is the answer to the problems, right? The thing is that, and some people think that they can install socialism, and that their problems go away.
No, I think that you need aspects of everything, anything that works. But
yeah, you could, as long as socialism,
like,
right?
But there are a lot.
Yeah.
Of, there are a lot
socialism
of
can work as long as you understand that socialism needs to continue to evolve to develop with new problems instead of saying, right, socialism is this. And I like the fact that earlier you said you're not dogmatic, right? And that's
it's not a religion.
That's where I can't come at you, right? Because that's where so do I have a problem with socialism? Yeah, when it's dogmatic, but you're not dogmatic about it, so I can't get you because you're amorphous. So you got it. On the points where you need to be solid, you got it. But on the points where you need to flex, you got it.
I'm just being myself. I'm not trying to like put an act or anything. It's more of
But in a lot
I
of
was
the
just letting
no,
you
I
know
appreciate
that
that. But in a lot of
it's
I've tried socialism in many ways, communes, local groups, bigger groups. Yeah, they also that what do they call it, that like something number, like where there's like 80 or you can't have like a society over 80 to 120 people. I don't know how true that is, but you've heard of what I'm talking about, right? That number that they set supposedly. That they said that it's hard to really build large groups above this number and have it be stable.
I mean, I don't know if that who wrote that number, what study? I don't understand.
I'll have to look
There's the
that up
number
and
because
yeah.
that's like that depends on the people that are involved. So
Well, the thing
I
is
don't
that
think that you can even make that because the variables are always going to be different depending on the kind of people that you have.
the thing is that they
I
were
guess you can
saying something
calculate
about
for that,
is
but
they
it's
said like
like
because you only have within that amount of people, right? Yeah, that's the amount of people that you have time to actually interact with, right? I get like if you have like 20,000 like 1 million followers, even if you spent like an hour a day talking to all of them, you're just not going to have the time to talk to all of them for even an hour. Like you can't really know them like that. So you can't really have like a working relationship with them other than they just buying your products.
what do you mean? Wait, can you repeat that?
Okay, so like the thing is that, right, if you have like a group of like, let's suppose that you have like 1 million followers, right? Yeah. But the thing is that you can never really have like because you have so many people, you just don't have the time to interact with them. But if you had like a group maybe 100 people, right, or a small community of 100, you could know each person individually, and then and start to really and negotiate with each one of them and make plans with each one individually, right? But you can't really beyond maybe 150 something like that people. You really lose the ability to really have one-on-one and talk with people and really.
I think so. I think it just depends
Who
on how you
knows?
approach them.
That's theoretical, right?
That
Yeah, I don't
also,
buy
yeah,
just
exactly.
because it's written in a book. I
But
don't
for you
believe
to,
it,
but
but
you
yeah.
can't say you can't determine how each situation is going to go because you don't know how every single person in that situation is.
I share the same
You know
thing.
what I
Remember,
mean? So
yeah,
like,
I'm
because then you'd be
flexible too.
generalizing based on like you'd be making assumptions and you'd be generalizing based on like maybe like the demographic, and then you'd be doing the thing that they, and by they I mean like the
Yeah,
powers
so
that be. You know what I mean? As far as like
I do.
kind of
I
trying
really
to
do.
quantify everybody and then make predictions about how they're going to be or what they're going to do based on like their previous behaviors, not accounting for the fact that every single person has the ability to change and
Yeah,
be better always
there's
and better
both parts are
themselves.
true. Both
So
parts are true.
yeah.
Yeah, both parts are true.
So
So
I don't think that I think that if you try to calculate for something like that, then it seems kind of silly.
wait, if wait, what about calculation? Trying to calculate
Like
is what?
to calculate for something like that, as far as like if you're like, oh, like this number of people can get like it's what is it? Like okay, like if we have this number of people, it'll be
Yeah,
you know everybody can get along
that's
and
a
it'll
little
be fine.
fishy,
Like
right? Yeah, that like
yeah,
like, there are
because then it's
individual
like okay, like
differences,
yeah,
and
and
right
then
there's
it just
certain tasks that will be maybe more amenable to larger scale, right? Yeah, cooperation versus other tasks that might be more complex. So yeah, there's a
and,
whole
like you
range,
should just
but
take care of everyone, right? Because like you don't have to leave anybody out,
yeah, there may be
you know?
some. It's an interesting to think about, yeah. But that's why
Yeah.
I like enjoy having discussions with you because you have a good grasp for nuance and the mono solutions are really you're good at staying out of them, yeah. So very able. But what impressed me most is the fact that you really get to the issue. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. So this I'm
Of
excited
course.
to find out more about Africom. Is there if there was one last thing I guess right before I really on this that's really all the questions I have on for right now. I just want to think about it. But if there's one maybe common misconception of Africom, would you say that there is the most common one that people have? If there's any,
Yeah, they
yeah.
think that it's a stabilizing force.
Oh.
I heard of this a lot where and maybe that's just maybe they don't think it's a misconception, maybe they really do see it. Maybe people have had good experiences with military officers that have come with AFRICOM because those people were good people, and that's fine, right? Like I don't have an issue with that. Like I
Yeah.
don't have it's not so much like that, oh, like these white people are here in my land. It's like I don't give a shit, do wherever the fuck you want. It's more just like you're here, you have tanks, you have drones, you have guns, you're training these other people to do different things. There's a shit ton of poverty, like there's just like these banks involved, and I'm not like involved, like I'm not saying that that's the person in the military's fault, but it's like it's just it's part of like this whole structure that is like when you break it down, it doesn't actually make any logical sense, like at all, except from like a really demented, psychotic, controlling, like just uh,
It's
I don't
actually
know, apathetic.
it's actually an
Yeah.
obvious lie at this point. It's an obvious lie, and it's
Yeah.
insulting and disrespectful.
But
And
I'm just
you know
saying,
what I
like,
mean? Yeah.
and maybe some people have had good experiences as far as like they met like someone someone who
Yeah,
was a good
someone who
person. You know
sold
what
it
I'm
well.
saying? Like,
Someone who sold it real
yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
or
all over
yeah,
the
or
fucking
like
place.
maybe there
Yeah.
was. I'm sure that not every single person who was in the military that went over there is a bad person. Like, I'm not even. It's not so much on them. It's more just like, but like, what are you doing? You know, it's like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
like this is an enemy. You can strike because Trump loosened the rules of engagement as well, and it's so funny because everyone's like, oh, well, Trump left Africa alone, and it's like, oh, well, okay, I guess Somalia doesn't really fucking matter. Like, fuck all you guys. So,
As someone
anyway,
who,
but
yeah, as someone who ended up in this country and who was displaced by, honestly, what I feel was U.S. imperialism, I am very unhappy with how things turned out, and I think that they're actually setting themselves up for. If I feel this way and I'm here and I'm living relatively like a good life towards people that are starving over there, I can't. You're destroying these people's homes and lives, and I think that's really going to blow back hard. And yeah.
well,
So
they
yeah.
dehumanize people to a degree, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like these Islamists, like obviously, well, look, he's like we thought he was a terrorist. We didn't
Yeah.
know.
I bet
we
you
just
they can't
strike.
wait to return the favor. Yeah, it's not. I'm
Yeah,
bitter
it's just,
about
can
it.
we just stop? It's like I don't want
Yeah.
to blame
But
anybody. I'm not trying to
American.
shame anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not here to like, I just want it. That would be nice if that stopped, because the militarism is just so passive. Like, please, it's enough, enough.
All right.
That's it. It's not that hard. Just stop.
Yeah. As in
So
terms of I know you have a very bold approach towards like you're never afraid to confront authority, which is fucking awesome. Do you have any particular role models or people that you were inspired by?
really, I like I like my grandmother a lot. She's pretty cool.
That's cool.
She kind of does what yeah, she kind of does whatever she wants.
She was hanging
I
around
like people
during
like
the
that. I have yeah, she just
during the fighting.
huh. I mean, she's just
That's cool.
does,
Maybe one day I'll
you know,
get to meet her. She
she
sounds pretty
yeah,
cool.
she lives her life. She has her job. She's done well for herself, and I don't know. It's just and she's very kind. One of the
That's
kindest
cool.
people, but she's really tough. Um,
That's good to know.
yeah. So, but
That's
she's
good
like
to know.
so sweet, so sweet. So
That's
yeah,
a
my
good, that's a
grandmother.
good combination. That's a good combination. It's one of my
That's my
favorites right there. Yeah. All right.
my answer.
That's good. All right. So that's good.
How about you? Who's your role model? Do you have a role model?
Well, there's not. I would say I really follow I read a lot of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Sometimes it's their
Mm.
speeches when I'm like cleaning my room and stuff like that. So, a lot of their talk about the struggle and how different organizations come at individuals and movements and stuff, and how to overcome the hardship. Their words are very. I find a lot of solace in them. I know it's real standard, but that's where.
Interesting. What
Yeah.
about their words?
Well, I would actually. I'll send you some of the speeches. Yeah, I just find them.
I like Martin
I
Luther
think they're
King
good.
is an excellent, uh, really good speaker.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually used them in my. I don't know if you ever saw the Tulsi Breaks video, but I use like extended segments from them in my. Yeah, I'll use segments from their clips in my videos, right? Like in the openings and closings and stuff all over the place. So, yeah, it's just a source reference for me. Yeah, you'll hear the lines I like the best. Yeah. So what up? Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much, Sebs. Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this for a long ass time. Thank you.
I mean, so yeah, with the Africom thing, like that's just. Okay, so the organization.
I wanted to
Right,
learn more
I can
about
tell you a
U.S.
little bit about.
socialism.
So
That
let
was
me
the
tell you
first
about what
thing. Yeah.
the money would go to. Like if you're going to donate money for it. So
Okay.
the HOA Pals also works with this media group called Halgan Media, and they're based in Mogadishu in Somalia. So it's a guy. He runs it. They're on YouTube. I mean, not YouTube.
Okay.
They're on Twitter. He has a platform on there, and he pretty much reports on a daily basis like what goes on as far as like airstrikes, what happened, who died,
This is
stuff
directly
like that.
going
So,
against the interests of the U.S. intelligence agencies and military
um,
operations, right?
well, I mean, they already have the radar stuff. So he just does it for like as an independent. And then so the
I
money
respect that. Yeah.
that they're using would be going to the AFRICOM, the like drones. Normally, people who've been affected by drone strikes and stuff.
Yeah, I respect that. You went
There's a
after the
whole
big game.
there's a fund for it because
Yeah.
well, because they're supposed to get compensation as well from the United States, but sometimes they don't pay. By the way,
Well,
so that's
yeah,
also
of
another
course
thing.
not.
They don't pay, and so it's like the fuck, like
They do that all the
so
time.
it's more
a
for that.
dirty
So
game.
it's like it's directly going to that.
Yeah.
So it's like a mutual. What are they called? The mutual aid. So it's like a mutual aid type of thing in Mogadishu, which I actually really do want to visit. So
I gotta
I'm
learn
thinking
more
about
about that.
in
Yeah.
the next year.
I know.
Yeah, it's in Somalia.
Yeah.
You ever,
I get very little involved with foreign affairs and or historical stuff.
Oh well, I guess because like
'Cause
Somalia
my
is so close to
doubt,
Eritrea.
but yeah.
Like, I know a lot of Somalis.
But I love to learn more. Yeah, this is actually a great. I love to learn.
But
new
I
shit.
just wanted to explain what that was, because for the GoFundMe, if people want to donate money, like you're more than welcome to. So it's just that's what it would be going to for Halgan Media. It's the gentleman that runs it. It's based in Mogadishu in Somalia, like a mutual aid thing. So
maybe one of these I'll bring him on the
that's
show.
what that is.
Maybe he could do a. We'll see.
Oh,
Yeah?
actually,
that would be
yeah,
cool.
sure.
Follow-up. Yeah.
Why not?
So I'll try to get at him. That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I can tell Phil on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe
Let's
to
do
talk
it.
to him.
I'm down.
Sure.
That'd be cool. Appreciate it. All right.
course.
So
That's not a problem.
anything else?
No.
That's good
Did you
for
have any
this
questions?
show then. Nah, that's good. Yeah, I just want to learn a little bit more about the individual that I've interacted with here and there. Yeah. Thanks
Oh, yeah.
again.
So you just are you doing work for the U.S. intelligence? Just kidding.
Well,
I'm literally joking.
you never know,
fine.
right? The thing is that I'm sure they're paying attention, right? Yeah, this is directly to go at AFRICOM. I mean, you did not go after. There's a lot of easier fights you could have taken, but you went right for the gun.
I mean, I don't
that's
like
good.
any of them. I go after the president. I mean, I don't go after him, but I talk about the president of Eritrea too.
That's why.
I don't like his ass. So,
That's
I mean,
why
I
Red
don't
Sea's
think
the
he's like
best.
I'm not saying that he can't redeem himself. Anyone can. Anyone. I don't care what you did, but he's not trying, and he's still. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but doesn't mean that there needs to be intervention from the West. No one's calling for to tell anyone to free anybody. Like they'll deal with let people deal with it. They will deal with it as they will. So don't but yeah.
There's,
But there's no.
And we need to hear. The thing is that by working together, right, the different communities that are dealing with imperialism and stuff like that, there's a lot of other people's stories that are also not being told, right? Yeah, but this is the whole entire continent, Africa. Goddamn, yeah, this is huge, yeah. So the AFRICOM.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably either disagree or have their own different opinions, and I think that's okay. I just think that at a certain point we do have to agree on certain things, as far as like the corruption and like the dishonesty and the senseless violence, like So it's just
we're gonna move forward on that, yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think we can agree on those core things. I think most
so,
people
too.
can.
I think so too, yeah. It's just they're being misled by the bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of that
Yeah.
from so-called truth tellers too. So
Yeah.
it's annoying.
That's all right. I'm moving out
Yeah.
of the way. All right, Sabs, you the best. Yeah, I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I've been
Yes.
chasing you down. God bless.
All right.
We'll
Have a
build
good
again
one.
soon. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.